Open Stage would like to acknowledge the Susquehannock peoples, upon whose unceded land we produce this show. Open Stage commits to the work of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism and the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples that continue today. At Open Stage, we also believe that Black Lives Matter, and you should too. That belief starts with acknowledging plainly how the systems we depend on often operate as if they don't. We at Open Stage proudly stand united with Black people and communities of color during this movement of unrest and uprising. This show is brought to you by Open Stage, a professional theater company. Check out Open Stage's complete list of shows, all of which are offered completely free this season at openstagehbg.com. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Well. It is the day after the primaries. Oh my goodness. Well, we have a couple things to talk about today. Okay, but first I want to remind you that it is the day after the primaries. Get some rest. Okay, sleep. I haven't done that yet. But I want you to do it first, and then I'll follow you. Okay. And over here with me is the wonderful, the fabulous Winnie O. Okay.
How you doing?
And we are here to talk about some election wrap-ups. All right. So we have a little bit of a docket for you, not a lot, because we are going straight into the things and we're just going to chat. And we're going to talk about a couple things. And on the other side of the line here, we have one of my, now I guess a staple on the show, Miss Rachel Hazard, Esquire. Is Esquire, Rachel, the right word for the lady lawyers?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be something that you use to refer to, like, I don't use it to refer to myself, but it's fine
Correct.
if other people add that designation.
Absolutely. Well, you look amazing. Hair is popping, looking beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
then
As well over there.
Thank you. And we also have, one of our other faves in the studio. He's usually behind the camera. Pastor Vincent's here with us. And he added himself to the stream. Okay, so guys, woo! It's been a long road. We have done a lot of things individually, collectively. We on the stream you have represented tonight. You have the Harrisburg. First of all, you have young professionals of color. Okay, first of all, big up to young professionals of color. Second, we have the Harrisburg Comprehensive Plan Working Group, the two main folks who are responsible for that. And then you also have one of the leaders of another subsidiary. All of these are subsidiaries of the Young Professionals of Color. By the way, if you want to know the kind of work that we are doing, I think these are two good programs. Along with we started off very social, right? And now we're moving into this season, particularly into outside of 2020, where we have become more civically engaged. Okay. So these are two of the third thing is who's running for office. Who's running for office? The Comprehensive Plan Working Group are not dying after yesterday. Okay. We're here to stay, number one, because YPOC is here to stay. So that's cool. And then two, because there's so much work to do. Like, even though these elections happened, there's a lot of work to do. So first let's first do a little check-in, post-election check-in. We're going to start with Ms. Hadrick. How you feeling post-election?
I'm feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we know most of the outcomes of most of the races.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very consequential primary just because of Harrisburg being an overwhelmingly Democratic city. So there are some fights that we still need to be prepared for in November. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. That not everyone who won yesterday can just rest up until November. There is still work to do. But overall, I feel good. So.
Absolutely. I agree with that assessment. Winnie Okello, I forgot to say Winnie Okello, PE. Now, dear, what does PE stand for in the end of your name? Like, she usually does PE for us. So tell us what that is.
So that pretty much is the designation for those who are actual professional engineers. So yeah, that's what it means.
So when he's a professional engineer, you see, we have experts here. We have professionals.
Yeah, so
okay?
now I can officially technically be an engineering expert.
That's
and,
right.
like,
She's an engineering
witness.
expert. We have a
Yes.
law expert. Okay. We have another engineering and just all around Renaissance man in the back over there. Like we're here.
Man.
I didn't get my PE, so I'm just a regular.
Okay, fine. Well, you are. So I'm gonna brag on Basir for just one
Go
second,
ahead.
if you will allow me.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, he apparently wrote a comp plan. That's first. No, I'm just kidding.
His own comp, single-handedly.
Right? Overnight.
I'll never forget that. Thank you, Mr. Banks, for that gem. We will use it for a long time. But one of the things I want to brag on Basir about is this. So, do you mind if I talk about you at all? Okay, so almost a year ago, at the end of the month, Basir separated from his former place of employment to pursue his dreams. And what I find inspiring about that is that he's been able to start several initiatives. Gaming and Guidance is a program he's been running for kids at 3 o'clock, 3 to 4:30, about every day, where he teaches them social, emotional, math, STEM skills through gaming. So they've been doing Roblox, Minecraft are the two that they've been doing. And he also does check-ins with them, does a lot of social emotional training with them, because, one of the complaints of people who don't understand why gaming, I was one of those people, didn't understand why gaming was so important and the kinds of creativity that could come out of gaming. People complain that it's a toxic gaming environment. And he thwarts that environment by introducing these social motion controls, connecting it to STEM and STEAM concepts, and making sure that the kids are engaged in a way that is meaningful and enriching for them. So if you got kids, I always have a commercial.
I know.
Okay? I always have one. Who would benefit from something like that? I invite you to inbox us on any of the pages that you're watching this on, because it's like 5 now. So please inbox us and let us know that you're interested in that. Drop it in the comments. And speaking of comments, that was my commercial. So obviously Basir is awesome. He's been actually taking the charge of YPOC. So before 2020, I was doing a whole ton with YPOC. And to be honest, I had a breakdown, to be straight up with you. It was so much going on at once. We were doing so much, we were moving in different directions. And I remember sitting on my kitchen floor with my very good friend, Cody Burke, going, I don't know what's next for YPOC. And we have flourished and done so much. And especially since Basir took a huge leap of faith and stepped out into the universe to kind of find himself and do what he's doing. He's been running book club. He's been doing our weekly meetups for YPOC. He's been running almost all the operations with Winnie of YPOC, Comp Plan Working Group.
Yeah.
So that's why my commercial said, hopefully the next vice president of YPOC, if the membership votes are in, Winnie Okello.
Hey.
So I want you, so those are my commercials. And actually join YPOC, right? Because you see us out here doing our work. Do you not?
Yeah.
Do you not? Do you see us?
If you like what you see and
Thank
what we're
you.
doing, please join.
Thank you. Join us.
Yeah.
But all of that to say, we have been heavily doing voter education. That's a big thing we've been doing during this time. And I want to flip it to Winnie. How you feeling post-election?
I'm just, listen, we had a conversation. I'm secretly happy that, we didn't have to take plan B to action.
Honey.
Because
we had a plan.
We had a plan. There's always a plan. You know that.
Always.
So I am.
We're not going to tell you. Don't ask.
Yeah. So for me, it's bittersweet. It's. I am glad for the persons who happened to not be the winners, and I'm also.
I don't know if I should have brought her here, because she's gonna confirm my foolishness. Go ahead.
It's true. I'm like, listen, for those who happen to not win, I am happy for you and for the community, specifically on certain candidates. I'm not gonna say who, but y'all know who they are.
Nap and snooze.
Okay, and
we're very happy that we have a new direction.
Yes. So for me, it's just that I'm just. On the other hand, even though I may have my own reservations on certain things, I am glad for a regime change. I'm glad to see what new direction hopefully we'll be moving in, especially on certain topics that seems to be high level for these candidates.
Absolutely. And I one of the things that I joke a lot and, poke fun at the current mayor all the time. Like that's one of my part-time jobs. But I want to make sure that, we are clear on the fact that we're not for or against candidates. We're for against issues. Right?
That
it's
part.
Issues. It's not a candidate in particular. We are on the issues. We are on the issues of police, defunding the police reform. We are on the issue of housing. We're on the issue of the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Things that will better this city.
Yes.
One of the funny things is that the current mayor actually is now very much trying to champion the comprehensive plan when literally it has been stalled for a number of years because of that same current mayor. So
8 years in.
How many?
8 years
it's been
in
a long time.
to your 2 terms.
Okay. Now it's a priority. Now we'll see. Today is, like I said, I was like, we are here after May 19th, but let's see what other folks are going to do. Basir, let's flip it to you. How you feeling post-election?
I feel pretty good. I feel that we have a candidate who will listen. I feel like extremely about the city council and the school board. I'm excited to actually do work because, a lot of times people pay lip service for the political expediency.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with the people who did run. Like, do we have an opportunity to combine voices? Because if people were really about what they say they're about, this city is going to have a tremendous era of a big boom because we know the resources that those individuals had and we know the impact that they can make. So I'm feeling hopeful and excited. So we'll see.
I'm very happy to hear that. And now to me, let me tell you how I'm feeling post-election. I'm tired. I got up yesterday at 4:00. I was like a kid on Christmas. I was so excited, Winnie. I cannot tell you.
I can tell.
You can tell?
Yes.
I started posting immediately. I was like, and we're gonna do this, and a picture, and we're gonna talk about the, and it was just a lot. And so then
And I was just resharing.
Yeah. And so then and thank you. And then we got up and not we, Basir was definitely not up for those 3 hours. But then he got up and he's like, oh, what you doing? I was like, I'm ready. And so one of the things that I did, I have a lot of stories for you, but we're not to that part yet. But I just want to say post-election, I'm feeling hopeful. Y'all know these were none of my picks. I was for none of them on the issues. That's why, it's not because they're not probably great people in their personal lives, but we and me have been consistently about these issues. And I think that one of the things, I will say, I feel a little disappointed, and I think it's just a long-running disappointment because I really expected some of the candidates to be more firm and have better plans on the issues, like we've been saying the whole time.
I agree.
What is your plan? I will say this. I fully expected more people to buy into kind of the white male thing going on, and they did.
And they did, though.
They kind of did.
Data.
And so, right, the data's there. I mean, let's look at some of the election results real fast. But
Can we say it? Can we say it?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think Dave Shakeweiler split the white vote.
They split the white vote.
Yeah.
because we were talking about that,
The white
right?
vote got split.
They I'm not going to say who were blaming other candidates. I'm not going to say who for, you're going to split the black vote. But let's take a look at that. I'm going to pop this into, I'm going to do this share screen thing. It's going to ask me like 9 questions, but whatever. And I just want to,
not split.
it was not split.
Shaved,
So let's look at
maybe,
these.
but
Shaved, possibly, but it was not split. Okay. And so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
yeah.
So look at these. So the first thing I want to announce is, and we'll put it in the chat here. This is the election results website for Dauphin. I mean, it's for Dauphin County, but it gives you all the races. Very important. I think you should peruse this to see what's going on. So let's look at the Democratic races to start. We have the Democratic races. We see the current mayor here with 1720 votes. We see Otto Banks here with 1237. We see Dave Shankweiler with 1329. We see Kevin Knox with 66. And we see Wanda Williams with 1776, apparently the year that the country was founded. And then we see 25 votes for a write-in. I was one of those 25, just to let you know. And that was 6,153 votes.
And again, to me, the first thing that screamed out was that is just status quo. If you look at the historical voting practices, like nothing changed, nothing new. I was like, with all these candidates who it seemed like they were knocking on thousands of doors, I was like, if you were out here knocking on these 5,000 plus doors.
If I had to hear again how many doors that Dave knocked, I was and his phone number and the 22 neighborhoods, I was gonna die. Okay?
And that's for me. I was like, even if you assured that 50% of those people voted for you, you could have easily won.
Absolutely,
strategically speaking.
And it's interesting because I not just me, many other people have been talking about this and saying, hey, what kind of voter plan do you have? What kind of a voter outreach plan do you have? How are you quantifying that voter outreach? This was all conversations that were happening. And I'm going to say it, the only campaign that I verbally heard that they were doing this kind of concentrated voter outreach and checking, literally clocking their voters was Dave Sheffield's campaign. He was the only one. Now let's look down at the Republican results. We have, So we have Timothy Rowbottom, and then we had some write-ins, 478. And what I thought was interesting about this was literally 32% of the vote was write-ins. So that's good, right. I think. What do you think about that, Rachel?
I mean, it's an interesting indicator. I think that you have to be concerned if you run unopposed in a primary and 1/3 of the voters in the primary will not vote for you and write someone else in.
Correct.
So that's something that Tim Rowbottom will, in addition to garnering, he has to garner the general population's vote, regardless of party. There's not much support within the party, so.
Correct.
It'll be interesting to see if there's any collective or organized effort on behalf of Republicans in the city, which is not, that would be unusual anyway. But
it would be unusual.
Extra unusual this year.
Absolutely. And I think this, I was looking back, and I don't have all the data now, but I was looking back some previous years. And this, well, we can do it real fast, actually, because we have the 2020 data.
Yeah.
So let's just look really fast at the general election results for, look at this. I think this is important to look at. If we're looking at the Republican, it says mail-in, let's do in-person ballot by, they usually have it by ballot, but if we look at the precincts and, here we go, precinct results. So what I thought was interesting about this was, if I'm extrapolating a little bit, if 33% of the people in your precinct did not vote for you, or in the primary did not vote for you, maybe, possibly they will not vote for you in the general.
Likely.
And so if that's the case, now so some factors that complicate that. One, Miss Wanda is a Black woman, so I think that outside of the Democratic vote, it's going to be a lift for some people to vote for her who are Republican. That's just the reality. But she's not, I don't think she's in danger. I just think that that's just the reality. So I think that, I fully do not expect Tim Rowbottom to win anything. That is not what I'm saying. But to be, just to do a projection, I think it's telling that folks would rather write in to the tune of 32% than vote for you. Almost 33% than vote for you.
And to me, my question is then, obviously, then those people are, for whatever reason, whether it's on the politics, on your platform, which I'm not sure if people really are aware about. I think that's important for folks to know, and also for I believe he made the intentional decision to not participate in the debates that have been happening where he was invited to speak. So I think that also says a lot about a person and their willingness to, at the very least, put the platform ahead of any individual snafus or feelings you may have.
Basir, what you got to say?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I want to notice is Tim Rowbottom is representative of, we can say, New Age Republican. Because remember, we had two essentially old school Republicans running in this race. And, you know, I responded to this when Penn Live was like asking questions, and they were like, well, how do you feel about a Democrat or a Republican? I'm like, at this point, you're talking about a whole different thing than 5 years ago, than 4 years ago. So like Tim Rowbottom, like it is interesting that 32% of Republicans are probably still like, oh, I don't want to vote for this message because he came, you know, he's been posting some real
horrible things. Terrible things.
Problematic.
These are also city like Republicans that live within the city limits.
Right.
So they would likely be, you know, those old traditional, not the new age Republicans. I'm not saying that's not possible, but I mean, if you're living in an urban area in a city, you know, there are a lot of people who still are registered as Republican because of traditional principles like fiscal conservatism or what have you, but not necessarily willing to vote for you know, the modern Trump era Republican.
That's right. And I think, so I'm going to put those election results back up a little bit.
I was going to ask.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share that screen again. But what I thought was very interesting also about these election results is we're going to go through me, Rachel, and Winnie's wards, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because I think it's very important to kind of like, I want you to look at the neighborhood. So let's just rank it real fast. Number 1, it's the Wanda Williams show, y'all.
Big fan. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Miss Wanda snuck in here with, how many was that? 1776 to 1720. That's 56.
That's a party.
That's a Kevin Knox.
That's a Hurston backyard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Literally.
Like
that's a text. That's a WhatsApp group.
Literally a WhatsApp group. That's like a
WhatsApp group.
That's the African. Listen, I was going to say, hey, Winnie's Kenyan. So when she says WhatsApp group, she means 10,000. So that's not the barometer we want.
I mean, okay. Let me rephrase it. That is a wedding fund.
Oh, we were talking about random ass
cash app request.
Last night. Oh, by the way, last night, Tipsy Tuesday. If you haven't been in Tipsy Tuesday, you should come. So last night we had election coverage until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we just hung in there until we, it was actually like 11:30 or so, 10:45, between 10:45 and 11:30, where we started seeing that, they were calling her for Miss Wanda. They called her for Miss Wanda when she had less than this amount. So I thought, 57 votes was when it all was said and done. I thought that was crazy. A couple of things I want to say here is this number, if we total up the 6153 and the 544, somebody do the math because that's not my thing. It should be, but it's not.
I have my.
Thank you so much. And then we had those are the only people that could actually vote. So 544, 6153. 6,697. We have over 32,500 voters. Somebody do the what you call that?
Yeah,
percentage. Okay.
32,000.
Where y'all was at?
20%, about 21%.
Where were y'all at? Because y'all was talking all that good shit on Facebook. Where was it at? Huh? What y'all was doing? What was going on?
75%.
Because I went to 14. We're gonna talk a little. I have ward stories, but I went to 14 wards. That's half of the wards in Harrisburg. You know what the judge of elections, because when you go and you do the poll watching, you have to talk to the judge of elections. You know what they were telling me? I have 4 judges. It was the black ones because I like them. They're hilarious. Tell me, oh yeah, they was talking all that good shit on Facebook, but where were they at the polls? Where they at? I need that music behind me that they do on TikTok. Where were y'all at? Because y'all was doing all that good shit in the Facebook groups, on your profiles, but where were you to vote? Does the primary not matter to you? Do you not understand what's attached to this? We have the comprehensive plan that has to go through.
Yeah.
We have that $47 million plus coming down, $48 million that's coming down for the is it American Recovery Plan Act or Recovery Act Plan? Somebody.
It was,
But we have $48 million coming down. But y'all sitting out here talking all this good stuff, and you didn't come to the polls. I drove around this city all day for 8 hours, and literally the polling places were 0.5 miles from each other. You could have walked there. All of y'all's registered to vote. I'm very disappointed in you. I want you to know that. Harrisburg.
So,
like, and again, for me, it was just how dismal to me
Horrible.
with the number of candidates running this season, and just how much momentum there seemed to be.
It's something for everybody.
I expected more. I was
You
like,
had
okay,
incumbent white guy.
Yeah.
You had new white guy who
Yes.
said he was a Democrat. All of a sudden,
The flippity flopper.
you had a black Republican Democrat. Okay. And you had Miss Wanda.
Right.
And you had Kevin Knox.
Right. It was, to me, I expected the numbers to be much higher.
Rachel, give us a rebuttal, because I don't like it.
I would say I don't agree. I was not necessarily expecting more. So I was an undecided voter until I walked into the polls.
Same here.
Into the polls.
Yeah.
Which is like totally out of character.
Really?
Me, I even felt a little guilty that I had not concretely decided
Why
on
did you
one
feel
candidate
guilty?
because I tried to bring awareness to the issues. I just could not decide, and I was not I could not thrust my full support behind any one candidate.
Okay.
If people are not, I mean, we can talk about what shoulda, coulda, woulda, like what should happen. If people are still living their daily lives, if they're not motivated, if they don't see a difference between the candidates, if they don't see one that stands out significantly beyond the other, they're not going to make the effort. If they're indifferent, they're not going to make the effort. I mean, there are those of us who we are passionate about being informed. We are passionate about civic engagement. And so we sometimes become blinded to the fact that, like, if you have to work, if you have multiple children, like, maybe you do think you should vote, but you get caught up making dinner and one of the kids falls outside and you got to wipe off, clean their wound and put a Band-Aid on it. Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock. Like, you could easily forget if there's not someone that makes you feel like it's critical to vote them in as compared to someone else. So that's the first point. The second point is,
before you get to your second point, question for you. So, from your estimation, do you think that from what we saw, right, and now it's hard, it's a pandemic, it's all this stuff going on, what do you think was we went from the general where we saw 56%, which is still not that high, to the primary where we saw between 20 and 21%. When I talked to a lot of the judge of elections, they were like, yeah, this is about right. Right? For 14 wards, which is half the city, they literally were like, yeah, this is about right.
I mean, there's also the notion that, like, if you people use social media and you're connected with people all the way across the country. You're watching cable news. You feel like national elections are more important because everyone is talking about national elections. What we have to kind of break out of is understanding that, okay, I can't relate to my cousin in California about my local elections, right? I can't comment on her status about a local election because she's in California.
Right.
But so I'm limited to just the people in Harrisburg City to talk about these local elections. And so I think just social media in general has made it so we've just hyped up the national politics so much because we can all find common ground on that, as opposed to, like, we need to find common ground on our local issues
absolutely
more, and we need to focus on them.
I agree. And I think that's what we want who's running for office to be. We want it to be one of the organs in the city. That's an old school word, but literally one of the organs in the city that hypes up local issues. Yeah. Right? Harrisburg Comprehensive Working Plan comprehensive plan working group hype up the issues because I argue that these elections are in a lot of ways just important, if not more important, right? To your quotidian life, your day-to-day life in the city. As a person, as a, a lot of folks, but I think I don't, a lot of people say don't assign blame, but I'm like, who's responsible then? Who's responsible for educating the masses? Anybody?
Us.
Yeah,
But also the candidates bear responsibility.
Thank you.
The candidates bear. No one owes you a vote. You have
Period.
Yes.
Period.
You
hear that? No one owes you a vote.
Fact.
What did you say earlier? Something you said earlier in the group chat race. You said, Lord, you said something real short and fancy, but you literally were like, such and such doesn't translate into votes.
Support does not translate to votes.
Yes.
So people will be
a vibe. That's what you said. You said a vibe
does not translate to votes.
Yes.
It's like people can be like all for you, supporting you, but like that crazy supporter, you got to get them to vote for you, and then take that extra energy and get them to volunteer, turn that into a volunteer.
Right.
But the diehard supporter for you is still one vote. You have to get the bodies. You have to get the numbers. If you don't know whether people, like, somebody can say, like, yeah, I support you, but if you don't know that they're definitely going to go on election day and vote for you, like, their support means nothing.
Absolutely.
Support from people outside the city, sure, you can get money from them, right? You can try to get them to talk to other voters, but you need registered voters to show up and put your name, like, fill in the bubble beside your name. And if you don't have that commitment from people, if you aren't garnering it, if you aren't ensuring that, if I have to choose somebody, I choose you, but that doesn't mean that they're going to take that time out of their day, like I said, to take that time to plan within their day to actually go over to the polling place and fill out your bubble. The support doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is something that I noted on Dave Shankaw's page, actually. There was an article in Penn Live that was written where he was like questioned about the businesses that were supporting him. And he kind of was like, well, the businesses know that I'm the one, with the residents of Harrisburg to give a new direction, to lead the charge, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's interesting. The answer to is interesting to me because it certainly did not privilege the residents of Harrisburg. It privileged those dollars that were coming from those West Shore businesses, from the folks who were pouring into, the campaign who could not vote in Harrisburg because they were trying to influence the vote with their dollars. Okay. And that spoke very clearly to me of the strategy of this strategy of we pour all this money into it and we will get the outcome that we want. Correct. I mean, I heard I again visited myself to make sure that I had some anecdotal / actual data. And I saw for myself the folks who were like telling us how much, the Day for HBG campaign was paying, telling us, certain things that were happening on the ground. So like, was paying for poll watchers, and then understanding too, like the campaign finance reports and how much money. I think we calculated, Basir, how much did you say?
It was over 500.
It was over 500,000, but we were talking about per campaign, how much they spent per vote. It was like between 140.
It was like about $350.
Correct. It was like between $140 and $300 per vote, right? And we're not talking about overall vote. We're talking about just the votes they got. So was it worth it? What do you think, Basir? Was it worth it?
Well, I think this is the danger of the low voter turnout. So for our working group, we always talk about citizens being up top, but elected representatives won't represent them if they feel like they can get a better turn on their investment. Yeah. So if they can pay a company to get $350 a vote, think about how much people power, right? 70 votes is not a lot. 70 votes is a doable And you don't have to spend $350 if you're putting in some legwork, if you're putting in footwork, if you're doing
Yeah,
something.
volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that's where Wanda made up. Like we saw it, right?
Ooh, her
Wanda
strategy.
made up for the money by hitting the ground.
I mean, she literally said
She
it.
had the
was like,
machine. She had the Democratic machine
She
behind
had the
her.
Democratic machine.
I'm not saying that in a negative way. She had it was already, the organization structure was already there.
Right.
For the party.
Correct. She had the sponsor, the endorsement of the party.
Yeah.
She had name recognition. She's been on somebody said she's been on the ballot for 16 years.
Yeah.
And she had the support of people because she's been a lifelong resident of Harrisburg as well. And so she had those things going for her. So this is why I'm like, I think it was Tawanda said, do they realize how they got schooled yesterday? Because people were trying to buy the votes when I think it was Cornelia said, Miss Wanda proved that relationships matter more than money.
And there's some really good comments in that are going happen. One, I think we do have to acknowledge, because we know a couple of people who helped on the campaigns. I think sometimes there's a lot of good talent there.
Yes.
That may not get listened to, that tries to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one aspect. But really, where's that money flowing? Because especially with Dave Shankweiler's campaign, you noted who was getting the money. Was it a local media group? No, it was his that didn't match the community that they were in. So you could double down. You could almost double your money by investing in people from internal to the city and say, hey, I'm setting an example of what I'm going to do as this leader.
And to me, it was just, I was like, lip service is lip service is lip service. Like, again, it's not votes. Like, I could sit here and be like, yeah, you're great. Yeah, why not? And when I go to vote, and I'm with Rachel on this one. Like, and I've told you this several times. I was like, I am so upset that it was easier for me to pick school board and city council candidates than it was for me to pick the mayor.
Yep.
Like the mayor of this city. Like, I was like, school board, I'm like, I know who I'm picking. You know, city council, I was like, I'm good.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
and I'm like, and I'm very happy with the results. But when it came to the mayoral candidates, it's one thing when you're picking the best among good people, among good candidates, versus when you have to pick the least worst of the worst. There's a difference here. You know, yeah.
So let's go down. So it's 9:07. We're not gonna stay here all night. We're not.
Yeah,
so let's go to city council.
Right.
Yeah.
The excitement of city council made up for me a lot for the mayor's race because I was sorely disappointed with the mayor's race overall. Yeah. Like, again, breathing a sigh of relief because, you know, the current mayor did, you know, get his dance card pulled from off the floor. Fine, that's fine with me. But no picks for me. You know what I'm saying? No picks. So that was very difficult. However, let's talk about these races, honey. Because these city council races were, first of all, big numbers were put up.
Oh, yeah.
We have more votes for city council persons than we did for mayor. Yeah. People concentrating their votes on certain people. Look at this. Jocelyn Rawls, congratulations, sis. 2,214 votes, 2,214 votes. Shemaine Daniels, congratulations, sis, to you. 2,032 votes. Let's see. We have Ralph Rodriguez, top vote getter.
Come on through, sir.
2,328 votes.
Yeah.
And then Alsha Green, 13 votes. Like these numbers are crazy. I mean, even Robert Lawson got more than the two least mayoral candidates. Like, that's crazy.
That is true.
Yup. Let's talk about a friend of the show, Vishal Bajpai, 1439. More votes than two of the mayoral candidates. That's crazy, guys. So I am happy, and there's some stuff. Crystal Davis too, 1,800 votes, 1,801 votes. So I'm gonna give her one. And what's interesting about that, of course, is because they can pick 4. So of course that's gonna be. But I just think it's really interesting that people didn't put all their eggs into some of these baskets. That's what I thought was interesting.
Can you go back down to the total number of votes for the city council? I just want to see something real quick.
Now that's the 4, the 4 combined. So it's not giving you unique voters here, by the way. So that's a little funky because it's not giving you unique voters. But I was very impressed. I will say, for me, and I got to, for some weird reason, Ralph and I were like following each other around to polls, and we had stopped and had like 2 or 3 conversations, and both of us had one thing in common that we were talking about, and that is, he did a lot of this. He designed his logo. He did a lot of stuff himself, and I think why that stood out to me is because one thing he said that I thought was important, he said, people think you have to have a lot of money to run, right? You have to have a lot of money. And he proved that you don't have to have all the money to run.
And let's be honest, right? When it comes to especially small cities such as ours, you have to have been doing the work.
Come on.
For me, that was the other part. It was like for the people who had been doing the work and people know them for doing the work in and out of season, to me, I'm like, that's an easier way that's polishing.
Absolutely.
Cherry on top of the cake.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't been doing the work, if people didn't know you before January, February, March of this year, if people only discovered you within the last 6 weeks, that's a different ballgame to play.
But this is why I'm not going to say what BDE is, but this is why Ms. Wanda was on some BDE whole kind of flex. She was flexing on everybody because she literally got in the game right at March or so.
But it was right before the election, the first debate. Yes. I was like, I didn't see nothing. I was like, is she actually? I was like, did I misread that?
Absolutely. and this is the point. Like, Miss Wanda's been in this community for so long. Again, not my pick. I'm just gonna say that because y'all know how I feel about her and the Hearst Anderson. So no. But what's admirable to me is that. So there's some behind the scenes information that you can talk to me off the show about that I know, but she made a decision and was like, you know what, I'm running.
Yeah.
And was like, and I'm sure how to do it. And she did it. 57 votes or 56 votes or not, she did that.
Yeah.
And she stuck, I wrote it on Facebook today. I was like, she stuck her pinky toe in there and won. Okay, she didn't and won.
Yeah, literally, I was like, because for me, I'm like, I actually admire her strategy now. I'm like, okay. I was like, imagine if she would have put effort.
I said, what if she started 1.5 years ago, like some of these other candidates allegedly?
Yeah.
And did the voter education again. And like what I said earlier, it's not on her to do that all herself, but some of it is, right? Because you want to educate people on the issues that are important to you as a candidate, of course. But, what if she had started 1.5 years earlier, did the voter education? She could have turned, listen, if you stick your pinky toe in the water and you turn the whole tide,
right? That's
power to me. And not just power, but organization.
Yeah.
And trust. Cornelia said it best, trust is important. And I'm happy trust in this election mattered more than dollars.
Yes.
But again, like the ensuring that you get people, you have committed voters who actually then show up and vote for you. Like the turnout in these races are so important because you can't assume in a local only election that people are going to take the time to participate. Yes, if you're under a Trump or you're under a Joe Biden, you can rely on the fact that they are at the top of the ballot to have people recognize your name and then just pick you because they recognize your name.
That's right.
But in a race like this where you are at the person at the top of the ballot is actually responsible for getting people out.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the mayoral candidates
No,
saw
no.
themselves as the top of the ticket.
Absolutely.
Like the
Right.
I really think that, like, you know, the Democratic endorsement, because the Democratic County Party, they already have the infrastructure to call voters, to tell voters they need to show up and get out. But everyone else was at the top of the ticket. If you're not insured and you're responsible for everyone else under you in the part, like
Absolutely.
anyone else who's part of your slate or what have you,
Absolutely.
the mayoral candidates did not make sure that people got to the polls. I've heard people say that, like, oh, we should have, like, people should have, why didn't y'all turn out? But, like, again, it's a smaller race. People are not, like, locked in like they are a presidential race, you know, federal representatives,
Absolutely.
state representatives. The mayors were the top of the ticket, and I don't think anyone outside of the party had like a concrete plan of like, are we driving people
every morning for the last couple of months?
But it was also slim pickings. It was slim pickings. Like the quality of candidates, particularly for that one position. It was just
absolutely, people
were really, it left much to be desired.
Absolutely.
Overall.
Absolutely.
But also did the
but I think like even if you didn't care for people, if like you would, if somebody would have focused on, somebody else would have focused on, let me just like get people, get new vote, get people who turned 18 since the last general election. Make sure they're registered. People who've never voted before. If you're a, you know, breakout candidate, are you ensuring people that never voted before are registered, number one, and have a plan, know how they're getting there, like know they have documents if they need it, know how to fill out the form, know how to get the mail-in ballot, like
that part.
Walking those people through those things. Okay, your grandma can't drive. How is she getting there? We have a van to pick people up.
Mail-in ballots for the busy people.
But Rachel, you're doing elementary campaign strategy anyway.
I know, but like,
but it's the basics that people miss, though.
Why? Why though? Why, Winnie?
Hey, that is my business. That's not my business.
It was about.
Why did they miss it?
We have a TV ad. Like what we've learned from the past several general elections. Barack Obama had the voter registration and the turnout. Donald Trump had the registration and the turnout.
Donald Trump used Barack Obama's book.
Literally.
Come on.
Yeah.
Literally used his campaign strategy book to win. Like literally did. Who didn't? Hillary. Let me tell you, some of these candidates, I won't name them by name because, you know, I'm trying to move forward with my life. But I will say this, they were very Hillary-esque. Okay?
Very.
They were out here trying to go on, you know, certain characteristics of being a person.
Having concerts at the last minute. Like
instead
Beyonce.
Of strategy. Because I went to 2 Beyonce concerts when I was on the Obama campaign. But you know what else I was doing all day long? Registering voters, knocking those doors, and getting people to commit, to volunteer, to register voters and knock on more doors and finding where people were and moving the tide for our candidate on what they did. Like beyond, you know what we did? You know, I got to, did I ever tell you guys? I got to open for a Bruce Springsteen concert. I know half of y'all don't know who Bruce Springsteen is. It's fine. However, Bruce Springsteen's amazing and y'all youngins need to know, you need to look up, just get on the Googles and Google that. Okay. But I got to open for a Bruce Springsteen concert in Philadelphia in 2008. But you know what my open was? Guess what it was? Text 456 to Obama and would you like a yard sign? But you know what we did? When we got the yard sign, folks? Hi, do you want to volunteer? Hi, can you bring food to our precincts? Hi, can you come down and take people to the polls? Can we put you in a organized little group here to get folks to the polls on election day? When in my wards, 11 and 38 in Philadelphia, we had over 97% voter turnout. That is unheard of.
Wow, yeah.
And it wasn't just me; it was all of us who had that turnout. But it was not because It was not just because Obama was Black, because I had a very white ward in East Falls, and then I had a very Black ward in North Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not.
I was in rural Lancaster County knocking on doors till
Thank
8
you.
p.m.
Thank
during the
you.
first Obama campaign.
Exactly.
Columbia Borough.
Exactly. And so it was not that it was just because he's Black and people voted for him. Because I heard a lot of that nonsense this time. Oh, you don't want to stand behind, the Black person. Not just that. Because yes, we want to vote for people who look like us and represent our interests. But if you're not organizing on the ground, and if you don't have every lay of the land covered, okay? Matter of fact, let's move on because it's 9:20. I want to look at some wards. So let's pull up, babe. Can you pull up Ward 1, Precinct 1? That's mine. And the questions I asked on the internet was, well, who voted for, white guys? And I'm sad to say that my ward was very heavy on the white guy. Okay. Now let's just think. And when I say white guy, I mean both of them.
I'm not surprised.
Neither, you know where I'm at.
Trends.
And that's why I put the map up. Because Shipoke, we know what's going on in Shipoke.
It's a trend.
We know what's happening there. We know the demographic. There's a lot of water. You know what I'm saying?
The water. Are there registered voters on the river?
319 apparently. So if the bridge is in there, so there's a lot of water. But I wanted to show that we had 9 what do we call these? Republican voters and a whole bunch of Democratic voters, which is pretty par for the whole city. So questions I asked were, who, and the reason why I'm bringing up the white guy story is because I think that, just like any kind of identity politics, name identity, race identity, all those different identities, I will forever think just because of how things rock, that white guys have an advantage just because they're white. Is that a bad assumption to make?
Is it? No, I don't think it's an incorrect.
We also always break down how Black people vote, so why shouldn't we?
Right.
I mean, race is definitely a factor.
Right. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that Pappenfuse and Shankweiler got most of those. Ms. Wanda wasn't far behind, but I'm also looking at Otto and seeing that he only got 2. Right. And that really kind of censored for me how a Black man in the race, with a lot of what he was doing, I expected Otto to have at least 10 in this district, at least 10. So that's how I feel about my district. All right, let's pull up Winnie's district. This is 1-3.
Yes.
Go ahead. Now, what's funny, before I go, so you look at your numbers while I'd say this one thing, more water, a lot of water. But I want you to see how Otto did in this district, in this ward and precinct. He swept this ward and precinct, 83 vote. Go ahead, tell us about it. He was doing
stuff though. He was engaging that region.
Tell us about it.
So for me, but also it goes back to, if you look at historical trends, it did not veer out of the norm. So even if he would have been mediocre in that, I think he would have still done well and focused his efforts in other areas that perhaps were less likely, would have been less likely to vote for him, as you've seen. But to me,
are you surprised at any of the other numbers? Like, I was a little surprised that Ms. Wanda didn't do better.
Yeah. So
I mean, not surprised that Pat.
I'm not surprised with
him, right? No. In your because you're in South Allison Hill.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
So a lot of people were like, ward. Every time I was talking about wards, like, ward, what ward? We don't know about no ward. I understand, but also, when we're talking about voting, wards and precincts.
Yes, and
a lot of that is not residential. There's the river.
Yeah.
A lot of the PennDOT's property, a lot of businesses. So it's like a very small actual
area. So, but well, I mean, if I look at my numbers, okay, so my precinct only has 319 voters. You can take that down. But Winnie's precinct has roughly, because he told me when I went there that we were that they had lost a couple hundred. So Winnie is 1-3. There's 1,400 voters in 1-3. compared
Could have
to
showed up.
319 in 1-1.
Wow.
So yes, it looks like a lot of water, but
There's
a lot of people in
right?
that compact space.
And mind you, like, right, so out of 1,400, right, we're only seeing that 83, those 83 persons who would have put one of the candidates. I'm like, hold on, you said, like, right, 1,400?
1415.
Fam.
Why do you think I was yelling at them just now?
And
That's
you,
a party in one district.
that is
in one
literally,
precinct. You get a voting block.
that is legit.
That's more than one of the candidates got
Yes.
from, two of the candidates got from mayor. Otto and Dave.
Yeah, that's like, that would have been a swipe if
Swipe.
you literally just only got that. But I also knew that it was, they
It depends
one
on
of those
the-
people had been knocking a lot of doors, let's be honest.
It depends on the voter activation and voter,
That part.
motivation that you.
Which is why I keep saying my issue is
Getting them to the polls.
folks really missed that opportunity on getting people to just get out and vote, to really commit to voting. Like, we sit here and we split hairs over these 6,000, but there is at least 20,000 more that we're not catching. If we're saying that 30,000 people plus or minus are eligible and registered to vote, and only 6,000 in total come out and vote.
Jamie Janelle said so many people are registered already. Yes, Jamie.
Yeah.
33,000 people.
But it's getting them out
Can
to the vote. Go ahead.
Can I just give a hypothetical?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We tell people it's important to vote, that the decision is important. If I didn't bother to do a whole lot of research,
Mhm.
and it gets to the last minute and I'm like, oh shoot, elections day is tomorrow, and I don't know anything about the candidates, and people have been telling me this is so important, this decision is so important because we want to get the right person in, and if I haven't figured out, or I don't know, or I forgot and I didn't put in the time to do my own research,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go because I don't want to mess it up because you've told me it's important. So
Okay.
if no one has
That's a good
reached
point.
out to me and made the case to vote for them,
Mhm.
I'm not going to go and pick a random person just so I can say I voted when you've stressed to me how important this decision is. I know nobody here, I can't even admit, I can admit and say that there have been times where I've walked into the polling place feeling I was informed, and there's one or two positions where I had no clue what was going to be in the ballot. I forgot.
Yes.
Look at the whole ballot, and I had to make a guess.
Correct.
But we can't put it on people, especially knowing different populations in our community, and expect that they would really I don't know.
It's got to be half and half.
At this point,
It's got to be half and half. Like, we have, not only do we have to have voter outreach, but how do we stimulate the community to take an interest in this after so many years, right, of folks not taking an interest in this?
But you make it impossible for them to have an excuse. You get rid of the excuse that they don't know who to vote for. You get rid of the excuse that they don't have a right, because we know this is how human beings behave. It doesn't matter whether they're morally right or wrong. It matters that we know how they're going to behave. So if we know how they're going to behave, it's imperative on us to, again, work around that behavior and say, I'm getting rid of the excuse that you don't have a way to get here. I'm getting rid of the excuse that you don't have information, because I'm going to make it readily. I'm going to come to you.
yes.
I'm going to come to you.
Thank you.
So that you can't say you don't have a clue to vote for. But we have to put ourselves in the position of the people who don't show up to figure out how to get them to show up. And it only makes sense that if you tell people voting is so critical, because choosing the right person is critical, that if I don't have the information, I'm not going to go and screw up the whole thing by just picking anybody.
Absolutely.
When you sat there and told me it's so important. So showing up and voting is actually not I want everyone to do it, but I also just don't want people to show up and
just do whatever. Right. So before, I'm sorry, Basti, I want to say one thing. So we have this question on the floor. So many people registered for it that just didn't come out. And then Jamie Johnson also said, who's running for office hold any voter reg drives for the general? I will help. Thank you for your help. We will need it. But the other thing is we want to hold what I'm calling voter activation, motivation and activation sessions. We don't just want to, we've registered people to vote, beat them over the head with that to death. Now, what do we do now that you're registered? Now you need to be educated on the different things, that different positions and what they do and how they affect you.
Yes.
One of the things that we saw last summer with doing the rallies for the CLEAC and holding the police reform rallies and the everything like that. What we saw was
a comp plan.
People don't even know what the fuck level of government shit goes at.
Yes,
they don't know.
Part.
Like they were like, Mayor, what about these schools? And there he was like, not me.
Yeah.
Literally. Right? And then they say another thing, and he'd be like, not me, that's Patty Kim.
Mm-hmm.
You're not me, that's somebody else. So I think another piece of that is we lack, and somebody, I forget who it was talking about, I think it was Miss Cynthia was saying, civic education needs to start in early high school years so that when the time people turn 18, they're well educated. I only had one civics class in high school, and it was in 10th grade. And I learned, how does a bill become a bill? Like Schoolhouse Rock kind of type shit. And so
my aunties were asking me who to vote for when I was literally a kid. Like, I'm a weirdo. So like, people can't like expect, I can't expect from other people, because I was like at home reading the Constitution, like again, like a weirdo, like because it's something I like to do. But if you
not reading the Constitution
or play basketball, like, which is like a cool thing to do, and you won't be like. But like
Rachel, you're getting some accolades in the chat here. Excellent point, Rachel. Gentle pressure to support. Absolutely.
Like, I think we just try to put these like, oh, people should care about this. People should care about, like, they should. But like, people have like a limited amount of time and they have other interests. Sure. If you're somebody who this is like your hobby, like I watch MSNBC all night, I know what's going on. But how can I like get people who don't have the time, like us breaking it down, other people breaking it down? Like, that's why I did the videos on the impeachment, because like so many people would be like, I have my kids all day, I can't sit there and watch, like, because I don't even know what's going on. But I watch your videos while they're sleeping. Right. I at least kind of know what's happening.
Kind of get an idea. Yeah. Exactly. That's part of the reason why we do this. Okay, I'm trying to be conscious of time, you guys, because y'all motherfuckers will talk. I know. Okay, Basir, what would you like to say?
Sorry, I went on a rant, but
no, you're good.
No, it's fine. No, I appreciate your passion. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be passionate. I'm just saying it's 9:30 too. Go ahead, Basir.
I do want to point out what Anna and Winnie had brought this up before. If everybody was really about this, right, was really about civic engagement, this gap would be mapped out data-wise, identified, and that would be a priority. The priority would be how do we educate, and pointing out what Jamie said, not just every week, every like little micro things. Again, to the plug. That's why we did the Who's Running for Office. That's why. Guess what? We're still going to keep doing lunch and learns every Sunday. We're not just going to do 3 2-hour sessions. We're going to do a robust lunch and learn. And then guess what? If we get resources, we're going to break it down even further. Maybe we need to do small little bite-sized TikToks. Maybe we need to do, like, you got to spoon feed it. Like, this is a lot of information out there. And not in absolute way. Not everyone has time to digest it all. So those who political power need to do this.
The person who's good at like making the process, I will do a civics class, but I need someone to do the process for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we got you.
We got
That's not a problem.
Ain't
no problem. Listen, Rachel, I invite you to the Who's Running for Office team. I will add you to the chat. Because we're about to do this. Like, no, we're not going anywhere. This general municipal election is so important.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that we have people
Thanks.
slated.
I'm glad some-
And this is
And I
important.
wanted to do that.
Can I
It's
address
okay.
that?
No, we got it.
before
We got it. Listen, we're all busy. We're all professionals. We have
Yeah.
jobs. Me and Winnie were just talking, and we're not gonna say too much, but we just really love doing these things.
Yeah, I know.
That's all we're gonna say about that right now. But I actually, Rachel had to say, I actually had the hardest time with all the judges and finding info on them. Yes, not so much about the bios, websites, but what their professional histories were. Absolutely. And this is important because people running for judge, I want to know what you did before that.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like-
that's interesting to people because that's of interest to folks. They want to know.
But
Like, how
the
you-
Bar Association has a committee that vets all of the judicial candidates.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
rates
Oh,
them.
yeah. See, that's
Right?
perfect.
Yeah. And but first
So
of all,
there's already
first of all-
people doing that.
First of all, there's a caption up on the screen that everybody should read. Okay. Black NewsBeat is
I love
HBCU period.
C-SPAN.
So
Thank you,
yes,
Rob.
so the nerds out over here about loving peace because I do. Okay.
Even
I
though
don't know
she
how
tried
much.
to use it as a derogatory term.
Right, he did. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to we don't have a lot of time here. Let's get back to a couple things I want to go through quickly. Don't y'all talk a lot, okay? I'll quickly go through the rest of the important races of Harrisburg. Hold on. I'm going my Chrome tab.
Is anyone else just, well, no, Ezra matches on double, so, but Ezra match.
Match. Hold on, where's my match?
Where's your matchup?
So one of the important things that we should see here is, okay, so let's talk about school board real fast, school director. So we had, my favorite didn't get in, George. Did he? No. Yes. No. Oh, no, we had Rosalind, congratulations. Jamie Janelle, congratulations. Brian, congratulations. And then we had a ton of people, right? And then we had 1, 2, and then Ezra got a whole bunch of Republicano votes. Yeah. Okay, this is the cross listing we're talking about. Look at this. Let's do some education around that.
He didn't get
he got 8% of the vote here, 1129. Yeah. But he now has successfully put himself on the Republican side of the House.
Absolutely.
So that's very interesting to me. The other thing that we should note here is let's go down to the 2-year seat. So we had Ms. Radcliffe get 3879 of the vote, and then we had the Harrisburg School District Director get 39 votes on the Republican side for that same seat. So what's interesting about this is, and I did a live that for some reason I only shared with myself. I don't know. Last night, right when everything was closing, maybe I'll open it up. I don't know what's happening. It was wine. It was lots of things happening. So, but what's interesting with this is clear to me that this person will probably carry in the general, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not the only seats we have to worry about as Harrisburg residents.
Thank you.
Right. So this is where I want to quickly go through that because I want to make sure that we highlight there are other seats that are going to be affecting us as Harrisburg residents. So we got the municipal primary, all the votes. It says 99 votes are in. Oh, 13. Is that the county or the Harrisburg? 13,000? I didn't see that.
No, I think that's the whole county for municipal.
Well, that's bad.
We need to look at the county results though.
There's 87. I want to highlight here for a second because there are 87,000 voters in the county. So the fact that only 13,000 came out is interesting because 6,000 to 7,000 were in Harrisburg. Now that speaks to a point that we should talk about.
Wait, that's the mail-ins, I think.
Oh, that's just the mail-ins?
Yeah. Mail-in.
Oh yeah, that's
mail-in ballots at the top.
Oh, okay. So let's go back here. Polling places, just mail-in. So we have 13,000 mail-ins. That's pretty actually impressive. So let's do, you said county, right?
Yeah, we need to look at the county offices.
Yes. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, here we go. So we had 21,000. Now this is where it gets real dicey, just so you know. So this is for Judge of Court of Common Pleas. Tasha C won the primary. Harrisburg, if you want Tasha C to win this seat here, okay, we have to come out in the general. All right. It can't be less votes than in the primary because she won't win. Okay. So she carried this pretty handily on the Democratic side. Let's look at what the votes were on the Republican side. Look at Jeff Engel.
Wow.
Good thing that she did is she cross-listed
18,
herself.
yeah.
That's smart. But look at this. So she carried it on our side, but look how many people.
How much?
Now, the good thing is if we look at the total votes, right? She could carry. However, look how many people, 4,000 more people voted on the Republican side for that seat than the Democratic side. So that means we have a fourth of 3,000 to 4,000 margin that we need to close in order to at least get to the place where if everyone voted, she would have the advantage.
Yeah.
This is very important.
And it's not just limited to this, the city. I mean, it's the whole county. And we have to think about the demographics of the entire county are much different than.
Absolutely. But in the whole county, there are more Democrats than Republicans in the county still.
True.
Still in this county. So it is the name of the game to me still is voter activation.
Yeah, they have
right?
to come
You
out
got to
and
get them out to vote. So here, let's look at the next seat for Prothonotary. Here is Matt Krupp. 22,000 votes. The write-in was 109. So let's look now. Let's find.
I think he's above.
There's
I think it was
18,000 votes. Let's talk about that. 18,000. Everyone who voted for her.
Yeah.
Except for 155 people.
Yeah.
Look at the Republican side. Everyone who voted for him, except for 109 people. But it's 3,000 to 4,000 more votes.
Yeah.
So now, what is the plan looking like for us to get a Prothonotary in, or not, depending on what we want for Harrisburg? Right, talking about not just for necessarily a candidate, but if we're talking about getting out, a candidate that Harrisburg wants, how do we activate voters to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, what else did we got? We had some judgeships, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a lot
some
of
more judges.
Yeah.
Oh, the state judges.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's go down to that one. Right. So same story. Let's look at, and this is the thing, when we're looking at how people voted in the county and in the state, or the county and the city. And we can go down to precinct results. We can go down to results by precinct, and precinct by ballot as well. And we'll do that in a second. But look at this. If we're talking about this just as Supreme Court, if we're talking about these sides in voter registration and voter education, okay, we're talking about almost 6,000 votes difference between those sides. How do we get those voters activated in a city that is 78% BIPOC and very heavily Democratic? How do you do it? I don't know. I do know.
Don't snooze between now and November.
Don't snooze between now and November. It's going to take a heavy lift to make up that 4,000 to 5,000 vote margin.
And at this rate,
if that's what you want to do.
Just in one county for a statewide race.
One county for a statewide race. Yep. But I would.
Numbers in Harrisburg can contribute to the overall numbers.
And that's what I was saying. If more people just voted in Harrisburg alone, and
not just contribute, they could take it all over.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Harrisburg.
That's the power.
Yes.
Let's look at these.
And that
voter
would bring more. That it's like a cycle, because if we would do that, then that would bring attract more statewide candidates to Harrisburg. Because right now, especially for a lot of the statewide positions, for Democrats, they go to Philly and Pittsburgh, right? Because those are where the major Democratic hubs.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying none of the statewide candidates come to Harrisburg, because some of them have come to meet with lawyers specifically a lot. But if people in Harrisburg were to show up for these races, that would force statewide candidates to come and listen to Harrisburg residents about the issues that they care about. And then when they get into their positions, they can advocate for those issues. But you have to matter as a voter. You have to.
That's hard. And that's the thing.
Sorry, y'all.
You're fine. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Because for me, it was really great. And Rachel really does bring a great point in terms of, we can't just tell folks, your vote matters, your voice matters. We have to tell them your vote and your voice matters because of this issue. And for me, I remember even the first time I was able to vote, I was like, I was shocked when I went in there and I was like, I knew I was supposed to vote for this person and this person. And then I get there and the ballot has like 10 different other people on there, right?
Yes.
So for me, that really was my initial like push into civic engagement and really doing my research, reviewing that, the sample ballots before going in, or thank goodness with the requesting of the mail ballots, you're able to actually like do your Google, get your Googler on and like, research these people. And I know for a lot of them, it was difficult to get their platform information. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Say difficult.
It was immensely difficult. It was arduous.
It was difficult.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah, I mean.
But that's such a great point about the mail-in ballots, is that you can sit with it.
Yes.
And do your research after you get it.
I wish it was a default, honestly. I wish everybody who was eligible to vote got a mail-in ballot just by default. Because y'all be sending us the most unnecessary crap. For all the trash that I got, related to voting, that should have been the most important thing.
Why did I get all this other nonsense?
Everything else I was like, that's just paper mache products.
I literally took a picture. I'll find it for you. But I took a picture of all that nonsense that's in my house now. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna put it in the fire now. Because what are we gonna do with this?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, I really wish it was a mail-in ballot. Okay. But all that to say this. Reminding people, because people understand, like, yeah, we have to vote for the mayor, for the school board, for city council. Folks don't think about all the other positions we're actually voting for during all local elections.
How many were on there?
Between
you have yours up,
right? Between
the different wards, because our ward, no, you had so up. Did you have an MDJ up in there?
Yeah, because ours we were voting for Justice of the Supreme Court, Judge of the Superior Court, Judge of the Commonwealth Court, Judge of the Court of Common Pleas, Prothonotary, Coroner, County Controller, obviously City Council, Mayor, MDJs are Magisterial District Judges, for whoever you decide on that, City Controller, School Director, the Constable, and
then the
2-year term, plus Judge of Election, Inspector of Election, plus the questions.
There were like 12.
There was so many positions beyond just the 2 or 3 people know about. So I'm like.
And all those constables, and the constables are the ones who have the ability to evict people in certain things. All those constable positions, none of them had. They were empty. They were all empty. Every single one.
There was a ton of write-in positions.
Yeah.
And some of them don't take up. They're not full-time, full-time obligation.
They're not. They're not.
But they're
so let's look. So let's just
everything works.
Absolutely. So let's look at this real fast, and then we've got to get out of here.
I know.
So let's look at Dauphin County. All right. Dauphin County has almost above 12,000 more Democratic voters than Republican voters. We have voters of No Alliance who are 20,000. They're the ones who swing different ways, or they just vote however they want, especially in the generals, because the primaries are closed primaries. We have a count of all other kinds of voters, which is if you look at the Pennsylvania Registry of Parties, there's a party for everything. There's an anti-Obama party still. They don't like him. Okay. And that's another count of voters. There's all kinds of parties. There's the Working Families parties. There's all kinds of different parties. And then count of all voters in the county is 190,000 voters in the county. Right? 190,286 voters in the county that are registered to vote as of 5/17. They're going to update this in 5 days on 5/24. So these voters, all right, and then it tells you if you go and listen, I'm not doing anything fancy. All I'm doing is going to the Dauphin County website and just reading.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I'm saying that to be like, it's just a little reading. Right? Like, Basir, don't do that face, babe. Don't do it. Don't do that face, because he always tells me every day that people don't read it. I'm like, fine, babe.
It's true though. When
I want them to read.
Candidate decides that they have a capacity for how many pages?
Listen. Well, even the mayoral candidate. Oh my dear Lord! Don't even get me started on that.
Not only do they not read, they will make fun of you for reading.
Correct.
They're like, oh, you reading? You reading?
Oh, you reading? Oh, you reading? You reading comp plans? Ha ha.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Nobody got time to be doing that.
Absolutely. So the other thing that I want you to do on your free time here is I want you to go into, the Dauphin C. It's already scrolling across the bottom. And I want you to look at how your ward voted. And if you already know, tell me how your ward voted. I want you to know I want to know in the comments. I was going to ask you earlier, but we got caught up talking because that's what these folks do every time I invite them on the show. They be talking. The resolutions. So by the way,
Yes.
resolutions 1 and 2 passed, which is not great. But my good friend Alex Domingos did show me a thread that speculated about what that actually meant in practice and how it could be really difficult, and then how we'll see what happens. So we'll see what, we're going to cross our fingers. It's passed, but what does it really mean in person for us? We don't know yet. So
money spent on litigation trying to figure out what it
correct. And I think it is going to go to court, those amendments. I think they said they were going to challenge them in court. So we'll see how that works. So one of the things that I thought, one of the things that I think is important for you guys to look at, and we're steadily losing voters, but we are viewers, but we will do one last look. And I know I want my friends to get out of here too, or who are so wonderfully sitting here hanging out with us. But one last thing, I want you to go in here, and I want you to go by precinct by ballot. Very interesting, okay? And you will see the parts of the city, who took what in what parts of the city, because at the lowest level of data, it's much more intricate than we think. So, like, look how Otto swept 1-3. Oh yeah, that's where Winnie's at. But then look how 1-2 behaved. Okay, almost an even split between Miss Wanda and Otto. And we could go down the list about this, right? We could go down the list. And one of the things I saw that correlated was when I saw an area where Pappenfuse won, I was almost guaranteed to know that there was a whole bunch of white folks in the area. I almost knew it. And at first I was like, no, I'm being, I'm being racist, is what people kept saying to me. But when you look at the data, it doesn't lie to you. So like if we go to this 5th ward in the city, where's that at? Anybody know where 5th ward's at? Anybody?
Pull up the map. 1 second.
Somebody on Midtown made this into a map, but that had little graph bars for all of the candidates. It was so cool.
Somebody in Midtown did? Nice.
Yeah, it's in the so it's all visual.
Yep. So 5th ward is second. It's only one precinct and more together, and it is by Pastorante. Sturgis Speakeasy is over there. So when I look at these results and I look down to see who voted how, when people accuse Black and brown people of voting according to identity politics, and then they vote according to identity politics, I'm always like, that's interesting. So go and see. Tell me how your ward did.
Be true.
Tell me how your ward did in the comments. I was not surprised that my ward went for Pappenfuse at all. But I was surprised at some of the wards that were evenly split between Wanda and Otto. I thought that was very interesting. But one of the things I think we should be looking at over the next 5 months is how do the ward and precinct levels play into that bigger number, and what kind of strategy can you build off of that, right? If you're going for an office. Okay. Absolutely. So Rachel's probably gonna give us the wrap up finger in a second. But one of the things I wanted to say before we left, other Rachel Landon. So because it is 9:53 and she had practice today for a very wonderful thing that they're going to be doing with, who is it, Rachel? It's
Judy Garland.
Judy Garland. Thank you. They're going to be having a production on Judy Garland. I know, that's what I said, Rachel. Wow. I'm so excited.
That's dope.
I'm very excited about that. So anyway, before I get too much more excited, yes. So they're watch for Open Stage. All the Open Stage productions are pretty dope. Please watch for that. I just want to give them a shout out again. They were a blessing in disguise coming to me. They approached and said, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm very grateful for the support and giving a platform to talk about certain issues, especially in the era that we're in. All right, so all that to say, I didn't even get to my stories, but that's fine. I want to say thank you to everyone for hanging in with us. It's been 1 hour and 23 minutes, and I just want to say we are not done. Okay, are we done, guys?
Heck no, there's more work to be done.
There's more work to do. Miss Wanda won by a very small margin in Harrisburg City, but Harrisburg, I just told you that the county has 86,000 Democratic voters, 80 something. I forget what I said, but
it was 80,000 to like 74,000, I think.
Correct. And we had, in the whole county, we had, I think, 190 something. I'm pretty sure that's right. 190 And 33,000 of those that's a huge margin for a city. Like that's huge for us. We can flip all kinds of seats if we understood our power as a city. Okay. So if I do, how do I do? Oh, Lord Jesus, don't do this, Kimeka. So no, that's wrong. See, no. 33 divided by 190 equals. That is 17% of the votership of the entire county. That's almost a fifth of the votership. That's crazy. So we should definitely think about our power. We should think about how we can influence these elections in a way that is beneficial, especially for the Black and Brown and BIPOC community in Harrisburg. Because like I like to say, when you lift up Black lives, you lift up all lives, you lift up marginalized lives, you lift up all lives, you lift up poor lives, you lift up all lives. And if you have a city with this kind of voting power, how can we affect these elections and these seats so that we lift up the Dauphin County area, lift up the state, and affect people's lives in a real way? That's what this is all about. Thank you to my guests.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rachel. Rachel's been with me, and I think for like a whole month and a half at this point. Thank you for everyone to tuning in. I appreciate all of you. If you need anything for any kind of voter education, if you want to partner, if you want to join the YPOC, if you want to become a part of the working group, if you want to be a part of WRFO, which is who's running for office, please inbox, put it in the chat, put it in the comments. Someone will reach out to you. I think what's really important, ask Dr. K at Kimeka.org if you have any questions about anything, as well as hitting us on those inboxes. You have all the avenues. I'm not going to be like Dave Shankweiler and give you my number though. But I do appreciate you for tuning in. I hope everyone has an amazing night. And we will see you next week for we're getting back to our regular episodes of Black NewsBeat. Finally, I'm not talking about this damn election no more. Okay? Good night.
Good night, then.